Hey, look at this. Look at this. All this dancing. All this dancing. So I'm back. So I just got back from a meeting and I kind of thought to myself, like, you look kind of cute today. So I know that it's always stressed, right, in these 2019 streets, even probably in the 2018 streets, about the benefits of going live. But there are so many times where I'm like, "Ugh, I could, but I kind of look a little dead right now," which I know that that doesn't matter, but I know that I just feel better when, I look my best. And today I'm like, hey, let's do this. So, for those of you who I may be on your timeline and you don't know me, I am Dorothy Enriquez. I am the communication strategist. So, I close the leadership gap through transformative interventions. You may or may not know, but 77% of organizations across the US admit to there being this huge leadership gap. And the communication strategist exists to close that gap through transformative interventions, which include public speaking, facilitation, and coaching. And so that is me in a nutshell. And yesterday I went live, after all of the birthday shenanigans and birthday bliss, kind of thinking about this whole idea around, how do we show up? And what does this mean in our organization? What does this mean if we're business owners? What does this mean if we are a parent? Or if, we're a volunteer and we work with the youth? What does it mean to really take a deep dive into how we show up? And this whole concept of self-awareness, because we kind of can't get away from it. It's important. So it made me think of three things, right? The first thing is around this idea of knowing thyself and really embracing that, sitting with it, digging at it, moving around in the sandbox, like, okay, what does this really mean for me? And so in Greek, it's nathisafton, I believe. That is this idea of knowing thyself. I know that there's books around like know thy enemy and know, like, for the art of war and things like that. But I think before you look externally, you must first look internally if you're going to be successful in any matter, right? Whether that's being successful in the work front, being successful on the personal front, or even maybe being successful in war. I don't know very much about war, but I would imagine you need to understand yourself, right? What your capabilities are, what your opportunities are, where you shine, where you maybe need to enlist the help of others who are more whatever you're missing, or whatever you may have an opportunity in that's it's not your best. It's not the part where you like really kill it in these streets. So this idea of knowing thyself begins with having the time and space to really sit with you. What does that mean, right? How do I show up? What am I good at? What do I excel at? Like, I could do this in my sleep. Because I think so often we are forced to focus on the things that we suck at, right? So we might go to work and our manager or our leader might say, you know what? You're really not good in these three areas. So this entire quarter, that's what I want you to focus on. And I remember listening to I think it's a tennis coach who was talking about like how well the people who study under him, like, why do they do so well? Why are they winning so much? And what are their opportunities? And how is he working with them on their weaknesses? And his response was, I don't work on their weaknesses. Their weaknesses are their weaknesses, and they'll probably always be weak in those areas. I put them in a position to really focus and hone in on their strengths. That is what's going to help them win. Now, I'm not saying that we don't explore our weaknesses, that we don't explore our areas of opportunity. I just think in like a professional setting, the way we harp and focus on it, it's not really serving anybody, not to me. I mean, even when I've worked with people who are in the corporate sector, and I'm like, okay, so you've been working on this for the last 3 years. Like, every time you're getting a performance review, you are working on this thing, and it's kind of not getting fixed. Like you're supposed to bolster your project management skills, and your project management skills still are super suspect. It's kind of not, like at that point, it's kind of not working. So then to me, that says more so than a self-awareness issue, you might be in the wrong job, especially if this is part of the requirement and like you just can't get your poop in a group, right? But harping on those weaknesses, it's like, who's this really benefiting, right? But I think that comes back to, well, what am I good at? What brings me to life? Where do I shine? And seeking out opportunities where we can do that. But we have to know thyself. We have to figure out what we're good at. What are we passionate about? What's our purpose? What are we doing here? What do we want to be getting paid for? But it still aligns with our overall personal mission and vision. But the only way we do that is by taking an introspective look. So I was kind of thinking about that today. Then the other two things I was thinking about is the energy and sort of like what we could call, for the purposes of like Reader's Digest terms, life positioning. Hey, outspoken wifey, thanks for jumping on. Hey, Britton. Hey. So the energy piece, I want you to kind of take some time and think about when you enter a room and people aren't expecting you, right? Look at their faces. Do their eyes light up? Does a smile come across their face? Are they excited to see you? And also, how do you feel? Like, what kind of energy are you getting from them? Is it like two spirits colliding, like, oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. I haven't seen you in weeks or months. And it's just like a breath of fresh air, totally refreshing. So not only do you want to think about the energy that you put out there, because for many of us, especially because we're leading in different capacities. We could be a mom, we could be a sister, we could be a daughter, we could be, a colleague, but we're leading in so many different capacities. And sometimes we're not thinking about the energy, right? Think about your energy, like the whole idea of like personal space in the US, about like, you need elbow distance, but we can think about our energy as maybe a 6-foot radius around us, like this big circle around us. And, we're taking it everywhere that we go, and we're emitting this energy. So when we're thinking about how we show up in these various leadership roles, because even if we don't have people reporting to us, we're still leaders. So when we're thinking about how we're showing up, what kind of energy are we giving off? Are people going to be like outspoken wifey said, like, hell yeah, you're excited to see me? Are people going to be excited because of the energy? Like they want to bust through that 6-foot circle and be close to you and really be in your presence because your energy is fantastic. And it doesn't mean that you can never be in a bad mood. It does not mean that you can't have a crappy day. But in general, right, the essence of who you are, how are you showing up? And then if you don't like how you're showing up, what can you do? What small incremental steps can you take to start to really massage and just bevel the edges slowly, beveling the edges and massaging you into the you that you want to be? Slow, deliberate, small baby steps, right? We don't have to go like, that would probably be inappropriate. I'm sure you all know what I was thinking. Like those references when we want to work out, but we haven't worked out in 6 months and we need to lose 20 pounds in 3 days. So you don't want to be all overly aggressive like that. These small, incremental, deliberate, strategic steps to bevel the edges as you continue to evolve and transform into the leader that you want to be. And then the last thing I was thinking about is life positioning, right? So you're like, what the heck is life positioning? That was like my Reader's Digest term for locus of control. So we can have an internal life positioning or an external life positioning. So internal or external locus of control. So this idea is, do things just happen to me and I have no control over anything? Life is just, it's happening to me. It's coming at me fast. Or do I have some sort of say-so over the things that are happening, how I perceive it, how I receive it, etc.? So when we typically switch to, and as we get older, we switch to an internal locus of control. Doesn't mean everybody has one. There's lots of people, think about it. So I'll explain it a little bit more. There are a lot of people who have an external locus of control, like Everyone's out to get me. Everybody owes me something. It's not my fault I didn't get my work done. It's your fault because you didn't remind me. It's not because of me that these bills are piling up. It's because they just don't pay me enough at work. Like, very much pushing it outward, very external in how they perceive and receive the things that are happening in life, right? Even the titling of this on Facebook was that, I think it's the Skilo song. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. Okay, right? But I'm not taller. So what can I do instead of just being like, I'm short, I'm short, I'm short? I can wear high heels. And I can just make sure that I have a big presence about me. And then it will seem like I'm taller because I have a larger than life personality. And make sure that I stand up straight, make sure that I have good posture. Having that internal locus of control or that internal life positioning allows me to be empowered and allows me to have choice. Because essentially, I'm not a tree. I can move. And so if these bills are too high, for example, what can I do to shift these bills around? Can I call and ask for a lower interest rate? Can I consolidate? What can I do? Can I ask for the budget billing on whatever it may be so that I'm taking control versus having things just come at me and I'm like, it's not, I have no power. I can't do anything. Essentially, I'm trapped in my own life. And so little kids, you'll find, typically have an external locus of control. They tend to just feel powerless. And then as they grow older, as they become teenagers, young adults, and so on, they start to, the natural way, right, is to start to have like this internal life positioning. I'm empowered to decide what I want to do with myself. I am in control of my life. I can set goals, achieve them. I can make decisions. I can fail and learn from it. I can sit down and get back up. I get to determine what this looks like. But again, all of these things contribute into the energy piece and the idea of nathi saftan, know thyself. And it all ties into self-awareness. So I want us to just think about how we show up. How are we showing up? And if we're not totally thrilled with it, what are some small incremental changes that we could make so that in 2020, we're feeling super jazzed and super ready? So that's kind of what was on my mind. I'm getting ready to eat lunch. I'm very excited about it. And I'm going to be facilitating tonight the entrepreneurial training that I do every Tuesday. So with that, with this self-awareness piece, I'm actually doing a workshop on June 25th. If you are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I'll be doing a workshop called Mirror, Mirror, how to win people with the power of you. So if you are interested, you could check that out on Eventbrite, or you could comment and then I can send you the link or whatever. But I'll be doing a lunch and learn on June 25th. And we are going to be talking about self-awareness. So it is called Mirror, Mirror. It's going to be fantastic. So again, if I have slid into your timeline and you don't know who I am, I'm Dorothy Enriquez. I'm the Communication Strategist. So I close the leadership gap through transformative interventions. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with me in the middle of the workday, no less. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Remember, consistency will get you everywhere. So I will see you again here soon. Thanks for joining Outspoken Wifey, Raquel, Britton, and there was someone else in here. LA Disdot. Ladisdot? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Ladies dot? Child, look. Thank you all for joining, and I will see you again soon. All right. Have a great afternoon. I hope the sun is shining wherever you are. Now, the music in my head. Do, 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 do. Da, da.